strategic planning. Like, I mean, even if, because I mean, you could say for that moment, let's go get something to eat and find that Black business. Yeah. But that's like just that moment. Making
we
people
don't believe in it.
conscious.
But the people that you coming together to have that meal with, then that starts a conversation.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's what I mean by leading to other things.
Right. No,
and I also just wanted to make
say the same thing.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make a small point and saying again, thank you, because that is exactly why I did not mind being on your panel tonight. And I've been watching your show since you started, is because when I met you, I told you we have like minds and we should get together. Period. There isn't no before and there and after. And also just a small seed, and I'm gonna shut the hell up. No. A small seed to plant for everybody is, please think about what I'm saying in terms of just regular English language, because you can talk to a baby and they'll tell you. But let's be clear, Black is an adjective. It is not a noun. So when you put yourself in a position of a thing, you are treated like a thing. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just want to point that out, and that's all. I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah, we've been conditioned. No, we do have to. Like, I never referred to myself as Black, never. And I know racism was all over, but I never knew what that was. I don't even remember really hearing about racism. And when I came to America, and I was 10 years old, and I went to school for the first time, the first day in school, and the teacher handed me a piece of paper and a pencil, and it was put your name, your birthday, and your race. And they had white, Black, Chinese, all those other things. And then the last one was like other. And it was a line. So I'm looking like, no, I'm not a crayon. In my little kid mind, I'm not a crayon. I don't know what the white and Black is, right? I don't know what Black and what is that? What does that even mean? I was confused. And I wrote on other, a 10-year-old wrote on other, I wrote Jamaican. That's who I am. That's where I'm from,
Right.
And then now it's not until last year, believe it or not, because I thought using the term referring to us as Black, because I know that was a part of the system, white supremacy. So, this one's better than the other. And I just started using the term last year just for the reason of identifying with my people. But no, I'm going back to changing that, because I cannot bring that into what we're about to build.
Language means everything. What do you think spell means? It is the words that you use. It is how you use it. It is your verbiage. You cast spells with your language. We've put ourselves in a position because we've given them a reason to look at us as a crayon. That's what you on the street calling yourself. Because I've taught you
niggas and hoes and bitch. I mean, all that right there. I'm sorry. I don't yet. But anyway, go ahead. Continue. That's a whole nother topic.
Where education comes in, because a bitch is a female dog. And again, you can be a female and not a woman.
What?
See how I go round and round?
Right.
Bring it right back. And the burden of teaching these things to our children. And they telling us, like Char said, at 10 as a child, I know I'm not a color, and I'm definitely not as Black as this shoe.
Right. Well, what I was about to say is my ex-wife is biracial, and she grew up in Canada. She was born in America, but she grew up in Canada, and her adopted parents were white. So she culturally is not African American. She often says that when she moved from Toronto to Chicago, she had never thought about being Black. Like she knew, because I was like, well, what did you consider yourself? And she said, me, because I grew up in a very multicultural community. And her first husband was Jamaican. So, like she said, I understood that was a whole cultural thing. And then she said, but then when I get to Chicago, she's like, it's weird because, she's very fair skinned. So she gets Puerto Rican, she gets Arab, she gets that a lot. And she would go, well, no, I'm biracial, but I'm Black in America. And she said she quickly figured that out because the division in our country is like American racism is particular. And like I said, it's like an octopus with a lot of tentacles. I mean, We started out talking about Haiti. That is the example of imperialistic white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff that we're talking about in economics here, that's another tentacle. There's the social aspect of, hey, if you want to live a certain way, you need to assimilate. You need to integrate and assimilate because, you know, you can't live around in Black folks and live well. You got to move out to the suburbs and put your kids through a bunch of stuff where there are only Black kids in school and all this other stuff, you know, and all of that.
Culture.
Because people don't think about they don't think about how isolated, you know, but what are you looking for? A better life. But the message is you can't have a better life around your people. You have to get away from it.
Right.
That gets into
expectation. I just said my ex-wife had me move more times than I ever did in my whole life.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
For those children. Come on, man.
But you understand,
April, well, April mentioned about we can all learn from each other. And I found that to be so true throughout life. And, like when I arrived here from, New York City, having grown up in the Bronx and Harlem in New York City, I came here first in 1992. And, and I've just learned so much from just sitting down and speaking with so many, just a wide variety of people, and by the way, Char, the way I know Orlando Caesar is because there's a Black woman named Sylvia Brooks who invited me to a block party she was doing at 67th and East End, back several years ago. And so Orlando Caesar was there, and I remember, and I've spoken with people like LaTanya Johnson, who is known as the mother of Inglewood. She has a program for young people. And so she just has such a wealth of information about the Inglewood community. And there's, just people like Sabrina King, who's a Black woman who's with the Chicago Police Department. And she has her own youth program that she does on her own time. And so I'm going to go to her dinner that she's doing next week. And I just recently contributed to a basketball program because there's a gentleman who he and his wife have been doing this program for 20 years now. And, and although I'm not doing a basketball program, I appreciate the fact that he has this basketball program for young people, or someone like a Diane Latiker from Kids Off the Block in the Roseland community,
Yes.
I mean, there's just a lot of beautiful spirits here in the city of Chicago. And I personally have learned from all of them because, they've been doing this for years. Like Diane Latiker proudly tells everybody that she's in her 60s, and so this has been a lifetime thing for her. And so, how can you not want to learn from someone like that? She's an expert, and she's more of an expert than, some of the people who call themselves experts,
right,
and make public policy. So I'm just saying. So I just to your point, April. I mean, for me, it's a joy to learn from people because somebody who's been living in Inglewood or Chatham or Austin or North Londale, they've been living there, their whole lives. They are the experts with what happens in the community. That's why, to the extent I can, when they're doing their events, I try to get out there, and support them because, they're doing good work. None of us can achieve what we want to achieve for the city of Chicago without all of us collectively
working together,
doing stuff. We don't have to all do the same thing. Right. Again, to borrow something that April said earlier, we don't all have to be doing the same thing, but we absolutely can be supportive of each other. Right. Somebody's doing a basketball program. Somebody's got a culinary class. Someone's got singing lessons. Someone's got a piano lesson. Somebody's got workforce development. Somebody is doing, people are doing such a wide variety of things. I've never seen a city with as many beautiful spirits as it is in the city of Chicago. And Char, you're part of that, Char.
You know it. You know it.
I was taking notes and I'm kind of overwhelmed by all the stuff that I wanted to say. That's why I'm quiet.
What part of New York,
baby?
Brooklyn, I don't know. It's very hard to describe what's happening in Brooklyn, but there's a very big shift happening in Brooklyn. To me, it's not a good one.
Like Chicago, much like Chicago.
Is it?
Much like Chicago, there's a shift. I can't explain it.
Okay, what do I mean? What?
What's the shift? Like the rudeness of people in terms of the camaraderie or not disconnect?
There's a huge disconnect, and there's there are layers to it, but there's the temperament is changing. There's the people here have a very short fuse. There's a gentrification happening across so many different neighborhoods, and it's like there's this juxtaposition of like visually seeing the neighborhoods being built up, but the communities themselves are like kind of falling into disarray. And it's just I don't know, I guess maybe I'm sensitive to it, but there's a growing tension here that I really don't like.
It's the
Chicago.
It's the system.
So maybe it's
that's
the
why
system.
you see it everywhere. It is the system.
It is.
Well, Amber, your voice is so important in all of this. You know, I just want to encourage you on that because you know your voice and how you're feeling because you know the things you're describing and the things you feel is real. You know, and sometimes there are people in our society who try to, you know, who would try to convince you otherwise. But you know how you feel. You know things aren't right.
Right.
And so, you know, and I'm just saying you have such an important voice to contribute to everything, you know, New York and the rest of the country and the world too. So I just wanted to offer that to you.
Thank you very much, David.
Since 26.
I did what happened, Will?
Go ahead, Amber.
I wanted to, I thought that was Will. Sorry, Kenny.
Hair. I got hair.
I wanted to mention something about the personality profile of the United States. If you were to, bear with me here, I'm sorry.
Take your time, baby. Speak on it.
If you were to personify the different groups, I would say that colonizers have the personality profile of a narcissist. And the gaslighting, the triangulation, the emotional manipulation. If you, like, the biggest thing that a narcissist does is try to take your power away by making you feel worthless.
Yes.
Because they recognize how much you have, and because they need you, they benefit from you. So to kind of like keep you to themselves, they try to cut you off at the knees. And I think that the dynamic between a narcissist and its supply is it mirrors the dynamic between white and Black people, quote unquote, white and Black people in the States. And also on the lack of unity that you guys are speaking about, I believe that that's due to us not having one belief system or having one place of origin. And our collective trauma in the US makes that worse because of our lack of trust in one another. But I think one good thing, I mean, one positive thing, if you can look at it in this way, one positive thing that comes out of that trauma is our diversity. It created so much diversity because we are a fragmented people. And I think that one thing that we can do, because like you said, there are so many tentacles, as Will said, and there are so many different problems that need to be addressed here. But one of the things that I think we can do to create that unity is to respect those differences. Because we all have strengths and weaknesses that can work together if we can place some value on those differences. We rarely, I don't want to be dismissive of those of us who do rally together and, you know, take a stand against our injustices, because I know that there are those of us that are out there on the front lines doing that regularly, but we rarely stand together. And when we do it, it's not for very long. I remember there was in 2020, in the midst of all the riots that were happening, there was the blackout, if you guys remember that.
Yes.
it was going all across social media, encouraging everyone to not spend the Black dollar for a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that I was so excited about this. I was like, I'm not spending any money, and I didn't. And when I presented it to my family, they were like, we'll try, you know. And there's just that. I feel like we don't believe in our ability to make changes on our own. And that's in large part where that lack of accountability comes from, where the oppressor and other groups of people feel like they can treat us any way that they want to, because they know that they won't be held accountable. And that's because we don't have this unified front,
Right.
you know, and on the rare occasions that we do have it, it's dismantled very, very quickly.
Right.
Because I just don't think that we have faith in it.
Everything you said made a whole lot of sense. And it put the icing on the cake. It put the icing on the cake. Especially, she's 29. Seems she's younger than everybody here. And it's nice to hear your thoughts and how you feel about it. That's all I was saying before. Like, let's go support a Black business. It's great. Because I did that the other night. I went to found an ice cream shop that was Black owned. I found a restaurant that was Black owned. I was on a mission, you know, I was in some kind of mood. And I went by myself, but I'm like, strategically teaching people, our community, the value of why we're doing this. We're not just going just to support them. Why are we doing this? Let's get together. So how do we get together? Like even David, you're talking about that. It's funny you mentioned about the lady having a cookout or a block party or something. And I was literally thinking a way to do something like that is to, like a home cooked meal, have dinners, a feast, different places, you know, New York.
I did that in college.
Oh, you did?
We used to have Sunday dinners together all the time. The information, but it starts with the structure of supporting one another. Something as simple as, I started it for emotional support. I don't know a Black man that's okay with crying. But he's still a human being.
Well, and
that I want to, you know what I mean? Like, you know, pour it out to me. But there should be a safe place for a man to be okay, especially a Black man.
You might have to start a whole new. You might have to start a whole new conversation, because
absolutely,
this is one of
you never did finish that. Well, feelings. You started talking about feelings, and we never did jump on that. Remember?
No,
but I think
right there. That's because that's at the core of a lot of the violence that we have in our community.
Exactly my point.
Black men don't. I often say
there's no way to let off steam, period. When you're a teenager.
There's not. And I often say that nobody cares. And Char gets mad at me when I say this because she cares.
What?
But
I do care.
Because she cares about the world. She cares about the world. But I often say that nobody cares how Black men feel. They only care about how our feelings make us behave. So from a very early age,
systematic.
It doesn't matter how you feel. You're supposed to be tough. You be a man. Be hard. Be and you can get mad. You can be happy. We can laugh.
4 or 5.
Or we can.
Don't you
4
dare
or 5
cry.
years old, little boy. Don't you cry. Don't you be upset, or don't you be sensitive.
I want to cry.
Well, so I got emotions, and I'm gay now. You know, I've literally had that conversation with a grown 45-year-old woman who I've said, I'm feeling sad, I'm in my feelings or whatever. And she's just like, oh, wow. And then had the nerve later to go, that kind of made me nervous because there's so many down low brothers. And I was like, okay, the only thing I ever said to you was that I was unhappy and in my feelings. So now I got to be gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's funny that that's, and this is a woman with a son.
Wow.
This is a woman with a son. So I just, and he's a teenage boy. So I'm like, you've been mothered by somebody. You're a teenager. This kid has no dad. He's been mothered by a mother who thinks that a 50-something-year-old man expressing emotion is wrong. or it's not, manly enough.
But
That's a whole other conversation. That's a whole other
real quick.
I'm sorry. Will, I was just curious to know, did you see her son taking on any feminine qualities and characteristics? Because single mothers,
I didn't,
whether they're mindful or not.
We were just talking, as they say back in the day. So I'm very careful because I'm very guarded about my own children. So I didn't really have, I met him once or twice when I picked up his mom for a day. And her main concern was that he was drifting toward the street, like, because he wasn't hearing her voice anymore. And that was part of her strategic dating, is she wanted somebody, because she's like, oh, because, I need to get my son, I feel like he's drifting toward, he's not listening anymore. But he seemed like he was a good kid. Like, he wasn't in trouble. But no, but I didn't see anything effeminate but that doesn't mean anything, because
I was just
maybe you do have because trust me, I know a whole bunch of dudes who are hard as hell and are also.
I don't even mean in that way.
And you
right? I don't even mean in that way in their
sexuality.
In sexuality. I just meant in terms of thinking. So
just
to make it clear in terms of exactly.
We have a serious problem in our society of men in general who just do hold everything in.
Yes.
And then when the anger comes out, it explodes in domestic violence, it explodes in workplace violence or mass shootings, it explodes in the streets. So and unfortunately, it's kind of a situation that is kind of goes through the races too, like people of different races.
Absolutely, but nobody else talks about their stuff on the front line like we do.
No, exactly.
I'm so sorry.
No, exactly.
Yes,
but that's
just like with the R. Kelly. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but the R. Kelly thing, Black women are the reason that man's demise. I'm not saying that he didn't do it, but what Black woman looked into this man's background and said he cannot read? He was molested by an older sister. He married a Black woman. All that loving she did on him. Her worry was her celebrity in life, not that her man can read and actually negotiate contracts if you were down for him. Now, one doesn't necessarily have to do with another, but it is systematic. It was a step. You know what I mean? It was levels to this, but nobody took the time.
Yeah, so I was just saying. So it's just that we don't, as a society, address the damage that is being done in our country, really around the world too, but here in the United States, with the fact that men, because because men don't control their anger. When they get angry, they explode. Like I said, they get they get domestic abuse, street violence, mass shootings, workplace, shooting up a movie theater. I mean, that's what storming the Capitol. It looks it gets very ugly. When men get angry, it gets very, very ugly and dangerous.
Imagine all of our men who are being humiliated, stripped of their manhood. If they dare not open their mouth and speak up and be the warrior that they know they are, or they're going to die and their family's going to die. Somebody's going to get hurt. They've been lynched and, annihilated. They've had to suppress too much.
Go that far. We can talk about today.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But it's
metaphorically castrated. Mm-hmm.
It stems.
Absolutely.
We lost our voices. We lost our voices. But we got to find our voice. We got to figure out how to find our voice and give everybody an opportunity to be human.
Sean, thank you for your really beautiful leadership, because like everything you express, is just 100% right. And I mean, some of the unspeakable things that we've experienced for African people, it's 402 years of abuse, and what we're experiencing today is the result of 402 years of terror and trauma.
The after effects.
Yep. But thank you for your beautiful leadership and your words, because it means a lot to hear that coming from you and what you had to say.
woman.
It means a lot.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, we need to relearn, if we hadn't learned it already, empathy.
Empathy.
Missing is empathy. When you talk about men and men being in safe spaces to express, there are some of us who don't have a problem with that. We're not afraid of our emotions or feelings or speaking, our truths and minds, especially to other women. Sadly, what happens is what Will spoke about. There's you'll say XYZ, and then there's a shutdown. First we're told, well, I wish I could find a man that would express himself, because men don't express themselves. Men don't say things. They don't speak up about their feelings. And then you get a man that say, well, here's how I feel. And as soon as that's done, you get, you're all up in your feelings, or whatever it is, we get shut down. So some of us don't stop just because of that, but a lot of men do. They go back in,
shut down,
because that was that moment where they were trying to be more open, and they get rejected in that openness. And so, and actually the same thing is true for men with women, and that's all part of the thing. We have to listen instead of just hearing.
That's right.
We can hear each other all day. I see a lot on social media, we like to do this battle of the whatever it is, sexes, or South Side versus West Side, or we like to do the tit for tat, the versus thing. We love adversity against each other.
I don't.
We were taught that in our culture, though.
Yeah.
We have to stop judging each other for the things that our culture, that we were bred literally in.